Hey all, Hipper here. So we are back in another solid cruiser play video here, which are meant to be average cruiser videos where like nothing really spectacular happens, but the result is something you can expect on just like in any average game you play. So I'm actually using an Agile build on my Hipper here, which I always do. With Lucians, like fully upgraded. And this is the build that I always go for on Hipper. I think it works really well on the ship. It wasn't until Agile in Baltimore came out that this build really came into its own as an inspiration here. But now it's just fabulous, I think. So the only thing worth noting here is that I have double rudder on the ship. And of course I have fully packed as well. What that means is that I'll get 3 sonars, and that's really good, and 3 heals as well. 2.1 rudder and 36 knots. So not the fastest ship out there, but quite agile still, and a lot more agile than its sister ship, or so-called sister ship, the Prince Eugen, because the turning radius on Hipper is much smaller, and the rudder is also slightly faster. So here I just have a quick look at my battleships. And it looks like they are going to the left. And that means that, okay, well, I'll go to the right then. So see if we can't get some nice broadsides set up here. So first things first, I'm spotted. And no one else is spotted. And someone's in the cap, meaning that's obviously a destroyer. So my job now is to get rid of that destroyer. Because I only have 2 battleships over here. And they're pretty much chanceless against a destroyer, a cruiser, and a battleship. So have a look at the map and look at the middle of the map here. I can tell that there's no one in a really good position to be able to crossfire me from the Reds from there, middle of the map, which is a huge mistake on their part, because that means I can actually move in now. And of course I have my sonar on. It's 5.6 kilometer range, and I keep the island to the right in such a position so that the battleship and the cruiser there, they can shoot at me, but they're going to have a really hard time actually hitting me. And of course the destroyer is panicking now, and he's leaving the cap, but it's too late. I'm in range now, and I'm able to spot him, and of course make him a target for both myself and the 2 battleships that I have behind me. So in my humble opinion here, I'd say this play here is what wins this flank here, because had this destroyer been allowed to cap and sit there and torp battleships and spot while the Iowa and the other cruiser was sitting behind an island, everyone on this flank here would just have been pretty much destroyed. Making a play like this, yes, it's dangerous, but it's only dangerous if you don't look at the map and you don't plan your engagement completely. Before I headed in here, I was quite certain there was no one in the middle of the map that was able to citadel me, and that's still the case right now. See, the red ship is pushing all the way in, and of course there's a huge mountain in the way, so he can't shoot at me. The Kansas is a problem, but I'm so far away that I don't think that he's going to be able to one-shot me. And I've angled as best as I can, so I'm not going to show broadside to him, but of course I'm going to take some incoming salvos there, and that's all part of the equation. Just too bad. So I'm now capping, and there's nothing this Hipper and Iowa can do about it, because they know I have a fearsome torpedo arsenal. So if they pop out from this island here, I'm going to torp them. And of course I have double battleship backup as well, except for the fact that my battleships are now sitting behind an island. So if the Reds were going to actually win this flank, now is the time. They would have to rush me, and they would have to take me out. And I'm at half health, so it quite possibly they actually would get away with it. But as usual, they're being too timid. So a little bit of aggressive play here. Yep, saves the day. So the Kansas is still trying to hit me. And like I'm saying, like the Hipper here, he could rush me because he has torpedoes as well. But of course, I have the advantage because I know exactly where he's going to pop out from. So that's why he's probably being a little bit careful there. And the battleships can now spot these 2 red ships here. And obviously they cannot move forward because I'll torp them. And they cannot really reverse backwards because then they're just going to get absolutely pummeled by the battleships. So what initially was a really good plan for this red team here just has now turned into the exact opposite. Because I took a chance in the Hipper, I looked at the map, I made a plan, and of course you cannot know 100%. But I was pretty certain that I can actually pull this off. But of course you have to keep the islands in such a way that you cannot get death struck by someone from somewhere on the map. And I did that. I kept the middle island between A and B in such a way that the ships over at B weren't able to shoot at me. And then I kept this island here in front of me that I'm looking at now in such a way that these two ships here were also unable to shoot at me. And that way I could just ravage that destroyer and no one could do anything about it. So people like to see high damage games, with high calibers, Confederates and 200,000 damage, but really you can get just as much XP by just playing your role, play the objectives, do what you're supposed to do, and you'll be fine. You see, I have 12,000 damage here and we are 5 minutes into the battle, and it doesn't worry me at all because I've taken out a destroyer, I have solo capped, and I have been very, very helpful to my team, so I'm certain I'm going to get a nice XP score. And XP is way more important than damage or kills or whatever else you can come up with. Alright, so this flank over here is pretty much won, and I'm sure as soon as I get spotted out here, this Iowa is going to go for me, because he knows he's going to die to those two battleships there, and as any other battleship player, he wants to get a kill in before he dies, and the cruiser is always the easiest target. But I'm going to make it difficult for him, but I'm still going to shoot at him, because like I said before, I'm pretty low on damage this battle here, so I'm trying to make up for that. And also look at the map. We have 4 reds over at the opposite flank, and they are of course heading in towards the B flank now, trying to take that from us. And if they do that, we might actually lose this battle here. So those two battleships are obviously going to attack from the north, or I hope they are. So that's why I'm moving down to the south. That way we should be able to get some nice crossfires going. So my battleships here, as you can see over on my flank, they are very far from the action, and it's probably a bit of a mistake on their part chasing that sole battleship all the way out there. There's no point doing that. There's nothing of value out there. So I'm gonna have to, be a little bit careful until these guys get into position again. And in the meantime, I'm just going to reset whatever I can here in the cap to keep the reds from actually taking it. That's the best use of my time right now, because there are too many reds in there, and they have a Nelson as backup, and there's a Weimar, and they also have a destroyer for spotting. So I'm going to have to need battleship backup, and as you can see, the battleships are still fooling around or whatever they're doing behind that island somewhere in the middle of nowhere, and there's only 7 minutes left. So do a little bit of math here, and by the time they get into the battle, there's going to be almost no time left. So I cannot allow these guys here to take the cap. I'm going to get pushed out and into an island here, which is awesome. But as you can see, the Nelson is moving into position now, and it is a tier 6, but it's quite a nasty tier 6, especially for a Hipper, because usually most Nelson players, they shoot HE, and if you take a whole salvo of HE, you're going to lose all the modules on your Hipper, and it's just super annoying, especially the engine. So of course I can repair, get the engine back, but then the next salvo from that Nelson there, I'm sure to lose the engine again, and then I'm a sitting duck, and then I'm dead. So that's why I'm being a little bit careful here. But now we have the Nelson in exactly the position we want, and I have an Agile build on this Hipper here, and people always say to me, why don't you have AP build on your Hipper, because you can citadel battleships. Yeah, I know that, and I citadel them very, very nicely without an AP build. It's just all about aiming and knowing where to hit these ships here. So yeah, there is no reason to go with a full AP build on Hipper. This thing works really well with an Agile build, and of course I'm not saying you can't go full AP, but I don't see the point. If you know what you're doing, then you don't need that extra penetration. I mean, if you're a skillful player and you know what you're doing, then you can do well with any build, and it doesn't really matter that much. So just to show that it's not a fluke, I'm going to Citadel this Nelson here again from this time around 12 kilometers. I can't remember what it did before, but it was about like 13, 14 kilometers or something like that. So we're just going to line up, use the quick rudder so we can get off a full broadside, because we don't want this guy here healing, so we need to Citadel him. So get off, very nice salvo there, and that's guaranteed to give at least one Citadel. And as you can see, it did. And he's very low on health now, so we just need to remove him from the battle, and that will be the end of my career in this battle here. I've done my part, and I think that if we just, get a few ships inside the B cap, then we're going to get away with this win here. So just get an extra cheeky Citadel on that cruiser there as well, and we just get off the salvo here, and that takes care of the Nelson, and you can see the other two ships disappeared just a few seconds after. So that was another, in my opinion, solid cruiser play here. Nothing spectacular, but also not crap, and pretty average game really that you can expect in an Agile hipper. So hope you enjoyed it and you got a little bit out of it, and I'll see you out there.